I saw Sonic the Hedgehog 3. In fact, by the time this video is out, I'll have seen the film about 6 times. This movie has been my most anticipated film to release for 2024. I had been excited ever since the post-credits scene revealing Shadow and Sonic 2, and then the trailers for free having me even more excited. I work for a cinema and everyone there knew how excited I was and that I wouldn't shut up about the movie. But they all love seeing my excitement. With that said, did the film live up to my expectations? Let's find out. This is my review on the Sonic the Hedgehog 3 movie. Before we continue with today's video, did you know a large percent of you are not subscribed? Let's fix that, shall we? Be sure to subscribe and turn on the bells to be notified for future uploads as I do discussions, gaming, reactions, animations, and more. Subscribing is free after all, so why not? Be sure to follow me on my social media pages such as Blue Sky and TikTok, and if you want to help support the channel as well, I also have a Patreon focusing on my animations. You'll get some awards depending on which tier you pledge to a month. All links will be linked in the description. Before Sonic 3, I did go back and rewatch Sonic 1 and 2. I was going to include the Knuckles show in my rewatch before 3, but I ran out of time. Honestly, I saved myself there. Sonic 1 I find to be a very quotable movie. I would say the lines out loud and love it every time. I do it for quite a few movies, which is not surprising. While overall not my ideal take on a Sonic the Hedgehog movie, I still love it for what it is and how it tries to be unique from other live-action CGI hybrid films. While for the most part generic, it did enough to be different to show that the filmmakers cared, not to mention the fact that they redesigned Sonic after him looking like, well, that. Jim Carrey was fun. I love James Marsden and Tika Sumpter as Tom and Maddie. They're a couple that actually love each other, which isn't always shown in stories like these. It's always a struggling relationship that works out in the end, but here, they just love each other from start to finish. Overall, a fun movie. Sonic 2 is a big improvement with it including more Sonic-y things. Seeing more game elements like the Chaos Emeralds, Master Emerald, Labyrinth Zone, the Tornado Plane, Gun, Knuckles and the Echidna Tribe, which were in the first movie, but we got to know a bit more about them. Tails, Super Sonic! While the human stuff feels a bit pointless, especially the scene starting at the wedding until they go back to Eggman and Knuckles. I don't mind the scene as much as other people did, though I would prefer if it wasn't in the film, but genuinely I don't mind it. Overall, a big step up for this film franchise. While I didn't rewatch it on my binge before seeing Sonic 3, I have seen the Knuckles show for Paramount+. For as much as I love the Sonic movies, I did not like the Knuckles show. It started off good with episode 1 and 2, but by episode 3, everything went downhill. It's like they'd saw the criticism of the first Sonic movie and did the opposite of doing less or taking it out, and just having it be more of that. Knuckles is barely in the last 3 episodes, your title character, and he's only in half his show? Wade takes up more time and it just becomes his show at this point. They were building up the big villain for the show, and he was just a nothing burger. The 2 agents were more interesting, and we don't see them for very long. Pachakumak from Sonic Adventure makes an appearance in like 2 episodes and is played by Christopher Lloyd, which was cool at first, but then just becomes an absolute joke. We only see Sonic and Tails in episode 1, like, why? Yeah, Knuckles is the main character here, but come on, we could have seen them more often. The trailer for Knuckles showed promise, but then the show itself was such a disappointment. With that said, the movies are great and bring a lot of joy to me, while the Knuckles show is a bit of a stick in the mud. Now we have Sonic 3. Originally I thought the villain they were setting up for 3 would be Metal Sonic going off of the classic games. They really surprised me when they revealed they would be focused on Shadow the Hedgehog. I knew going off how the first 2 movies played out, it wouldn't be a direct adaptation of Sonic Adventure 2. As much as that would be really cool to see, I did not for once think everything from that game was going to be in the movie. For one, Amy hadn't been in the films yet. We have the factor that other humans in the film franchise and the post-credits showed the commander from Gun already knew of Shadow, whereas nobody in SA2 knew who Shadow was other than Eggman. So I was curious about how the story would play out and the character arcs. Jeff Fowler showed promise for Shadow as he at Blur Studios worked on the pre-rendered cutscenes for the 2005 Shadow the Hedgehog game, so he knew the character well enough. Now let's talk about the film itself, shall we? Taking place after the events of Sonic 2, Shadow breaks out of Prison Island, which is close by to Tokyo, Japan. Sonic, with the rest of our heroes, celebrates Sonic's first day being on Earth from the first movie and has a reflection talk with Tom in Sonic's old cave from the first movie. Team Sonic is called out by the commander of Gun to come to Tokyo to help them with the problem of Shadow escaping Prison Island. Little did they know that Shadow was a bigger threat they hadn't realized until getting their butts kicked by him. The commander gives Team Sonic details about Shadow and results in the Chow Garden Cafe being attacked by Eggman's drones, but revealed by Agent Stone and Eggman appearing to have let himself go that the drones weren't sent by Eggman, but someone who stole them from him, so they have to help each other track down who's behind all of it, only for Eggman to make the discovery that the person behind all of it was his long-lost grandfather, Dr. Gerald Robotnik. Gerald gets Eggman to team up with him on his revenge plan and see that Shadow is involved too. After escape from the base they were in, Sonic gets Tom and Maddie to help out in London where the gun base is, and they need to do it before the Eggman and Shadow fulfill their plan of revenge. In comparison to the first two films, this is the most like a Sonic story. While there are moments where they remind people that it's a kids movie still, and at times it can be a bit distracting, luckily it doesn't overstay its welcome like the wedding scene in Sonic 2, or for some of the human-only scenes in Sonic 1. Here they focus on all of the Sonic elements for the most part. The biggest highlights for me was the backstory between Shadow and Maria. They captured perfectly the friendship between the two, and it's nice to see this side of Maria. The games always showed her as this kind and loving soul on the arc, and yeah, that's here too. They also give us a fun side to her, and her just being a kid. Not something we got a lot of in the games. The conclusion played out differently than what I expected, especially going off of the backstory from the games. Trying not to go into spoilers here, but I do like how differently the backstory plays out here from before. Again, without going into spoilers, but the final climax was absolutely phenomenal from start to finish. I wouldn't change a thing about the third act. This movie as a whole is a massive love letter to the games, and that's especially apparent with all the Easter eggs and references throughout the film. Some of them I leaned out of my seat a bit and was surprised to see and or hear. The humor for the most part is what you would expect. If you love it or hate it, it's about there. For me, I do like most of it. There was some odd ones, like there was this one point where Eggman and Agent Stone were watching a Spanish soap opera, and while I did think it was funny at first, I don't think we needed it the second time. Gerald being alive is another odd choice to do, but they did nail his character when they go over the Avenge arc, just like Gerald had in the last story of SA2. The times where him and Eggman bonding was a fun watch, a little weird, but still fun. You can tell how much Jim Carrey was having fun with the two characters. And I love that Eggman finally got his game-accurate suit. It looks fantastic. Tom and Maddie aren't in the movie as much, but I do like their parts from when we did see them, and they still love each other very much. Always lovely to see. Agent Stone is about the same as he was in the first two movies. I don't really have much to say about him. I like him, and that's about it. The other humans in the film are fine, although I don't get where they were going with Director Rockwell. It felt like they were gonna make her a plot twist villain or something at one point, but then before the climax, she's just gone for the rest of the movie. I wonder if that was the plan, but then they were like, oh wait, people aren't gonna like that, so cut it out and just leaves us with a character that's just there. Sonic feels a lot more serious than he was in the first two, still spoiling his quips from the first two with the occasional pop culture reference, but here he knows to really take a moment seriously, and I love that. Tails and Knuckles were fun, though we don't get as much from them as we did from Sonic 2. But Tails feels less like a fanboy of Sonic than he was in the last movie, which is nice to see that he moved on from doing that, and not doing another only Sonic the Hedgehog quip. Which I thought was fine in 2, but if he did it here, it would be a bit much. Thankfully there was none of that. Knuckles does feel a little bit dumbed down at times, but not Sonic Boom levels of dumb. Finally, we have Shadow. What can I say about him? He was the best character in the movie. His backstory was perfect. His character arc was perfect. Motivations, perfect, 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 perfect. And on top of that, Keanu Reeves smashed it as the character. It was a bit odd hearing him in the Movie Pack DLC for Sonic X Shadow Generations, but it's rare someone like him would do a video game, and the current voice director for the Sonic games has been known to not do great on voice direction. But here in the movie, Keanu was perfect. He really understood the character and the voice never felt off to me. The CGI looks great as ever. Nothing stood out as awful or unfinished in my opinion. The Sonic characters look great, and Shadow is the best looking character out of the four. The music was a big step up. Tom Hollenberg, also known as Junkie XL, is back again, and while I have a love-hate relationship with him right now, and his stance on AI, and him using it for some projects, I do love the score to the Sonic movies. While yes, it can be generic, at least with this movie, we got some more game tracks. It's like they took a note from the Super Mario Bros. Movie from Illumination, and how that movie used songs from those games into the score. While not to the same extent as Mario, I'm just happy more Sonic tracks were used, and not just a one-time reference for a gag or reusing a snippet of Green Hill Zone again. I don't know if any AI was used in the score, it most likely has some, but I have to say this is Junkie's best score in the series, especially in comparison to 1 and 2 and how people felt about those scores. Before I go into my overall thoughts, I would like to talk about some spoilers, so if you haven't seen this movie yet, skip to here for my overall thoughts on the movie, but if you have seen the movie or just don't care about spoilers, you may proceed. Okay, so the climax having Super Sonic and Super Shadow fight was so goddamn hype. I was at the edge of my seat, and then Shadow coming to his senses and realizing what he should have been doing instead of going for revenge with Gerald, I almost went into tears during that part of the movie. And then the two working together to stop the Eclipse Cannon from destroying Earth was even more hype, especially with the scene having Live and Learn playing in the background. That was the cherry on top. Of course, I have to talk about the post-credit scenes. I knew they were going to reveal that Shadow survived, but I'd be curious if they'd say it was a clone of him. We'll have to wait and see. And I was kind of hoping he was shot into space and ends up on a planet with the Black Arms, and we'd see Black Doom. But I was pushing my luck there. Before that scene, we got a scene where we see Sonic briefly fight with Metal Sonic. Oh my god, he looked fantastic. The most faithful looking character. And the cherry on top? Amy's here! I screamed when Amy showed up. As soon as I saw that hammer, the hype was all out, and she looked really good from the couple of seconds we got of her. No voice, but she looks great. I don't know if this is another reused model to look like her, but they've got a great baseline here for her design. Overall, the Sonic the Hedgehog 3 movie was fantastic. It improved so much from the last two films, included more game elements and callbacks that I adored so much, while also trying to be its own thing still. This is without a doubt the best movie in the series so far, and they just announced a fourth movie for 2027. So that's going to be really exciting, and that's going to be on the 10th anniversary of Speed Force Productions, so that'll be fun as well. I have seen about 77 movies released this year in the UK. Sonic 3 being my 75th, and out of all of those films, Sonic 3 takes the top spot as my favorite movie of the year. I don't care if anyone disagrees with me on that, I rank these movies out of enjoyment. Sonic 3 made me really happy. I love this movie franchise, and for it to put Sonic into a high spot now after where he was for so long. Sonic 3 makes me proud to be a Sonic fan. For as much as the fandom gets made fun of all the time or seen as a problem, I have no shame being part of the community. Because like I said, this movie makes me proud to be a Sonic fan. For as much as I could be made fun of for saying it, or whatever anyone may say, I'm happy, and that's what matters to me. And I've got people in my life who want nothing more than that for me. I've been through a lot this year, some good, mostly bad. I've had to power through most of it. I'm not going to go into details as that's all personal, but stuff like Sonic 3 was something I needed after all of that, and something to help motivate me going forward into 2025. And for that, I'll leave it at that. So if you're interested to see this movie, go see it. Even if you weren't much of a fan of the last two, I still strongly recommend this film to you. Sonic 3 feels the most like a Sonic movie, and I think it's worth seeing because of that. And that is all for this review. I hope you all enjoyed, and be sure to tell me your thoughts in the comments on the movie if you've seen it, or how excited you are to watch it. Before I sign off, I just want to give a quick shout out to my patron, Typhoon. Much appreciated. And if you want your name on the shoutouts, all you have to do is pledge to my Patreon and be part of any of the tiers available. One last thing for those still watching, I would like to make a quick update on the recreation of the Sonic 3 trailer. I know I am very late on it, but I have been working very hard on it. There was a point where I was going to rush it out just so I have it done on time for the release of the film, but I didn't want the quality to suffer. So I'm still working on it, and from what's completed so far, it's turning out so good and honestly my best SFM animation. I intend to have it done soon, and then I'll fulfill my promise of making the second trailer into a recreation and do a clip of the movie. When that's all done, that'll be my final time as Source filmmaker, as I'll be making the move into Blender, and I'll finally be retiring from recreations. As much as I like them and have no shame in making them, I want to do other animations and also focus my time on Corfi's Quest 2, as that has been a bit overdue. So basically, Sonic 3 trailer and clip recreations are still coming, and they'll be my last recreations and time in SFM, so stay tuned for those. With that said, I thank you all for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, follow the links in the description down below, and I will see you all in my next video. So until then, take care, bye bye.